I was folding laundry on the couch when Malcolm walked in humming something tuneless. His shirt clung to him like he'd been in the sun too long, and there it was again, that faint, cloying scent of coconut. Not the kind from sunscreen or drinks. Lotion, feminine. I didn't say anything at first. Just watched him dump his gym bag by the stairs and head to the kitchen like he hadn't vanished most of the weekend. Long day, I asked, folding his work slacks into thirds. He didn't look at me when he answered. Meetings ran over. Asheville traffic's a mess. That was Sunday night. By Monday morning, the story had shifted, something about an unexpected site visit in Winston-Salem. I didn't press it. Not yet. It was Lana's Instagram story that broke the dam. She'd just come back from her so-called beach reset, a solo trip she'd said to Santa Barbara. She posted some sun-drenched brunch photo. Her mimosa, her nails, her oversized sunglasses. But I paused. There. In the reflection of her lenses. A figure across the table. Barely visible, distorted in the curve. But the Lakers cap, that cap Malcolm wore on every trip we took. Even the way the person held their fork, left-handed, tilted inward. Exactly like him. I stared at that photo for 5 minutes before my thumb hit the screenshot button. I sent it to Janelle. Me, tell me I'm crazy. Janelle. That reflection looks a lot like a man. Me, that's his cap. Janelle. Are you sure? Could it be someone else? Could it? At brunch that weekend, Lana was radiant. Tan. Carefree. She leaned over the blueberry pancakes and squeezed my shoulder like nothing in the world could touch her. Being alone out west, she said, clears your head. Who took the photo of you drinking mimosas? I asked, careful, casual. She blinked. Timer app. Why? I smiled. Just curious. Mom and Victor were at the other end of the table. Darlene in her signature coral blouse, always matching her lipstick. She passed me the butter with a knowing look. Sweetheart, she said later when I caught her alone in the kitchen, you've always been dramatic. Don't ruin your marriage over. What sunglasses? I'm not accusing anyone, I said, just something feels off. Darlene squeezed my hand then. Her fingers were tight, colder than usual. You trust your husband. And your sister. That's what families do. But that wasn't what she said when Dad left. Back then, it was don't trust anyone without asking them twice. Funny how memory plays favorites. That night, I opened a fresh journal. Not the kind with flowers on the cover, just plain black. Something that wouldn't draw attention. The 14th of August. Lana said she was in Santa Barbara alone. Malcolm claimed he was at a work thing in Asheville. Both used the word solo. Both were vague on timing. I asked no one the right questions. Not yet. By Tuesday, I found the hair tie. I was reaching into the glove box looking for a charger. And there it was, bright pink elastic wrapped twice around a black pen. I don't wear pink. I haven't worn pink since high school when Lana told me it made my skin look washed out. Funny how little things stick. I held the band between 2 fingers, studying it like it might confess. Outside, the sprinklers were ticking. Inside, the scent of coconut still lingered, light teasing. The pink hair tie didn't scream, it didn't accuse, it just existed. I placed it in a small Ziploc tucked deep in the drawer beneath my scarves. Then I opened my laptop, a new folder. I didn't name it affair or proof or anything that would hint. Just one word, neutral and cold truth. Janelle picked up on the second ring that night. She didn't say hello. Just breathed for a second, then said okay. Start from the beginning. I told her everything slowly, like stacking pebbles one by one, the scent of coconut, the Instagram reflection, the shifting stories, the hair tie. She didn't gasp, didn't jump in. When I stopped, she said, Christine, don't say anything yet. You don't have enough. I have instincts, you have dots, you need lines. You need someone who knows how to connect them. That's when she mentioned him. Raymond Torres. Ex-cop turned digital bloodhound. Discreet, expensive, worth it. I hesitated. Feels extreme. So is betrayal, she said. By Thursday, I was checking Malcolm's call log through our shared phone plan. Nothing glaring except a few repeated unknown numbers, always at odd hours. I copied each one into a spreadsheet. Dates, times, duration. Cross-referenced with Lana's social posts. On the 7th of September, Lana posted a beach sunset from Hilton Head. Malcolm, meanwhile, had claimed he was at a conference in Raleigh. His credit card showed a dinner for two at the Waterline. In Hilton Head, no names, no photos, just hints. Dots. Thanksgiving was coming and Lana insisted on hosting. "Let's do a potluck this year," she said, more relaxed. Mom brought her signature yam casserole. Malcolm brought the wine. I brought cranberry sauce and a silent storm. Lana's purse sat open on the hallway bench while she set the table, humming to herself. I hadn't planned to look, but my hand moved before I could stop it. Inside, a folded hotel receipt. Embossed logo, Shorefront Inn and Suites. Room King. Check-in the 16th of June. Check-out the 18th of June. I swallowed hard. The 17th of June was our wedding anniversary. That night, after the dishes were washed and the last guest left, I emailed Raymond. Just a short line, "I'm ready." He replied within the hour. Polite, precise. "I'll begin with digital tracing. Passwords, pings, public data. Expect an update in a week." The next days passed in a fog. Malcolm kissed my cheek before work. I smiled like I hadn't seen that receipt. I asked about his meetings. He said, "Same old." I saved every text, every bank notification, every parking charge near downtown. Sometimes I'd lie awake and think about Lana, 15, sobbing into my hoodie after her first breakup. I held her through that storm. She'd said, "You're the only person I trust." I believed her. I said it too back then, she's my sister. On the 3rd of December, Raymond's name lit up my inbox. Subject: confirmation. I clicked. There were 6 attachments, each photo quiet, damning. Malcolm and Lana, arms brushing, laughing, standing in front of Shorefront Inn. One photo, they were checking in. Another, him unlocking the room door. Timestamped the 17th of June, 8:46 p.m. The day he said he was delayed at the airport. My fingers shook. I didn't cry. Instead, I opened the folder marked Truth and dropped each file in. A new journal entry followed. The 3rd of December. They lied. Together. About my anniversary. About everything. I stared at the screen, then whispered aloud to the still room. If they all lied, then they all fall together. I walked into my own birthday dinner wearing the calmest mask I've ever worn. The kind of calm that only comes after the fire has already burned everything down. All that's left is the ash and choices. The private room at Bellamy's was softly lit, golden almost. Jazz piano played low in the background. A long table shimmered under candlelight. Wine glasses caught the glow like they were in on something. Lana waved me over, already seated near the center. She wore green satin, her hair curled like always, every detail perfect, intentional. She smelled like the same coconut lotion I once found on Malcolm's collar. I sat across from her. Malcolm stood when I approached, pulled out my chair, kissed my cheek. His lips grazed my skin too casually. "Happy birthday, baby," he said. I smiled. So did my mother. Darlene leaned and clasped my hand. "I'm glad you're finally at peace with everything." Everything. Victor handed me a small jewelry box. "We figured you deserved something beautiful today." I thanked them all. With grace. With care. Then nodded toward the waiter to pour the first round. Malcolm stood again, tapping his glass gently with a dessert fork. "To Christine," he said. "The most forgiving woman I know." Everyone chuckled, Lana most of all. She tilted her glass, winked. Janelle, sitting beside me, said nothing. But her hand slid under the table and squeezed my knee once firmly. I nodded. "Thank you," I said aloud. "To everyone here. Thank you for showing up." I looked around. Delilah, Malcolm's cousin, already tipsy. Spencer, Lena's ex from years ago, now remarried, chuckling over something Victor had said. I watched them all, every person who had at some point watched me fall apart in silence. I do have something to say, I continued, still smiling before dessert. I reached into my purse slowly and set a small USB drive down beside my wine glass. The silver caught the candlelight. Lana noticed it first. Her smile paused just half a second. But I caught it. Just a little something I wanted to share with all of you. Malcolm's hand tightened slightly around his glass stem. I turned toward the host standing discreetly by the door. Would you mind cueing the video? It's already queued up. Folder marked June. The room quieted. Jazz faded into the background. Forks paused midair. Even Darlene tilted her head, confused but polite. I looked back at Malcolm. To family, I said. And I raised my glass not for a toast but for the end of pretending. When the screen lit up, no one breathed. The lights dimmed just enough for the projector to cast its glow across the private dining room. Candles flickered. A fork clinked quietly onto a plate. Even the jazz had stopped. The first clip began security footage. A hotel lobby. Date stamped. Malcolm walked in first. Wearing the same jacket he said he lost last summer. Lana followed a beat behind, looking around nervously before grabbing his hand. There was no mistaking it. It wasn't a handshake. It wasn't a hug between siblings-in-law. It was fingers laced together. A slow murmur began at the end of the table. Then the video cut, same hotel, different angle. An elevator door opening. Malcolm leaning in to kiss Lana. Not a peck, not hesitation. A full familiar kiss. Darlene's wine glass paused halfway to her lips. Victor sat stiff. Janelle beside me didn't flinch. The next image was still a screenshot of a joint bank transaction. Transfer $8,400. Boutique inventory fund. From our mortgage refinance account. Then came another. Boutique ownership document. Business name L, M Collective. L for Lana, M for Malcolm. I didn't blink. Then. The audio. It wasn't grainy, it wasn't edited. Just a short voice memo. My mother's voice. Just keep Christine compliant. She doesn't need to know everything. Lana deserves this new start. Darlene exhaled like someone had kicked her in the ribs. Victor turned to her. You said it was over. You swore. Lana stood up, suddenly knocking her chair into the wall. You said she'd never find out, she snapped at Malcolm, eyes wild. He rose too, mouth opening, reaching toward me. Christine. This isn't what it looks like. It was complicated. No, I said, still seated. My voice was clear. Even. You didn't just cheat Malcolm, you built her boutique, with our future. With the equity from our home. He froze. That was the part he never expected to be mentioned. Because that part wasn't about love, it was about betrayal and ink and signature. I reached into my purse, same place the USB came from, and took out a simple envelope. Unsealed. Neat. I set it in front of him. Divorce papers, I said. Signed by me. You can add your name when you're ready. There was a pause. And then another man posing as one of the servers stepped forward. He wore black slacks, white shirt, a wine towel over one arm. But the way he walked was too deliberate. Raymond. He placed another envelope next to Malcolm. This one's yours, he said. Legal notice of misappropriation and preliminary lien. The room was silent again. No one picked up their wine. Malcolm sat down slowly, fingers gripping the edge of the table. His face had lost all color. Lana was already crying. Soft, uncontrolled sobs that used to move me. They didn't anymore. I turned to my mother. Darlene didn't meet my eyes. You lied to me for years, I said, voice low. My fingers didn't shake. My fork was still neatly parallel to the knife. My napkins still folded in my lap. And now I need to know, I took a breath. Are you even my real family? She opened her mouth. Closed it. And for the first time in my life, my mother didn't have a script. The night didn't end with cake. It ended with silence. No one sang. No candles were lit. Only the low hum of the projector still cooling down and the gentle clink of a wine glass being quietly set aside. I walked out first. The heels of my shoes hit the marble floor with soft finality. Janelle followed close behind. She didn't speak until we reached the parking lot. "You okay? No," I said. "But I'm clear." That was enough. The next 72 hours came in waves. Texts from Malcolm. Dozens. Then none. The last one just said, "We need to talk, for closure." I didn't respond. Lana didn't text. She hand-delivered a letter. Janelle found it first tucked under the mat. It was thick. Cream-colored. Her cursive still the same as in high school. I didn't open it. Instead, I lit a match. And burned it in the metal sink one flicker at a time. No ceremony, no tears. It turned to ash and circled the drain. Raymond, now officially Enzo again, showed up Tuesday with a flash drive and a calm face. "The boutique's funding came directly from your mortgage overpayments," he said. "Funneled through a dummy LLC. Guess who signed for it, Mom?" He nodded. "She rerouted your trust fund too. The one from your grandmother." I leaned back in the kitchen chair, let the sun from the window warm the side of my face. "She always said I was too soft." "She called it soft," Janelle muttered, sitting across from me, "because she was scared of what you'd do if you ever got loud." That night we opened my laptop, folder name they all knew. Subfolder audio. Another documents. "I think it should be a podcast," Janelle said. "Not a revenge piece. A cautionary story. For anyone who's ever been told to smile and move on." I nodded. We spent hours crafting the intro. My voice calm and low. No dramatics, just facts, just truth. Malcolm tried calling again. Once. Then he showed up at the boutique. He didn't get in. The landlord had already locked it, legal action pending. According to Enzo, he was trying to sell inventory to cover the tax penalties. Lana was nowhere in sight. The next day, I drove to the house I grew up in. White shutters. A porch swing that still creaked in the wind. Hydrangeas she never quite kept alive. Darlene opened the door before I knocked. She looked older. Like someone had finally held up a mirror and she didn't recognize what she saw. "You really destroyed everything," she said. "No," I answered. "I just pulled off the mask." She opened her mouth again, but I didn't wait. I walked back down those steps I once ran up as a child, believing every person in that house was on my side. Belief is a powerful thing. So is the moment it breaks. That night I sat in my living room, lights low. Janelle was asleep in the guest room. I hovered over the upload button. First episode. Title: The night they told me to forgive them all. I clicked publish. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. When you grow up being told to shrink, speaking up feels violent even when it's not. I used to think silence was safety. Now I know it's just a place people put you when they want to feel better about what they've done. It had been 2 months. The air in Charlotte had cooled a little, but the market was still alive, still blooming with movement. Saturday morning and the farmers market near Myers Park was already full. Children running with paper cones of kettle corn, jazz humming from someone's speaker, baskets filled with peaches and eggplants and late summer tomatoes. I didn't come for produce. I came to remember what my own footsteps sounded like. To let them fall soft and unrushed without the echo of someone watching or explaining why I was walking alone. There was a stand with handmade soaps. One of them smelled like coconut. I paused. Not because I missed it, just muscle memory. I didn't pick it up. I didn't even blink. Instead, I moved toward the booth with pears. The vendor handed me a slice. She was young, probably no older than Lana had been when she used to copy everything I did. "Here you go," she said with a smile. I tasted it. Sweet, crisp, unexpectedly cold. "Thanks," I said. It hit me then how odd it felt to say thank you to someone who didn't want anything back. No guilt, no favor owed. Just kindness without agenda. It had taken me 39 years to realize how rare that was. I bought 2 pairs. Just enough to carry in one hand. I didn't want a bag, didn't need one. I wandered a while longer. Watched a couple pick out sunflowers. He held the bouquet. She adjusted the stems. No one looked at me like I was broken. No one asked, "Where's your husband?" No one whispered, "Is your family coming too?" It was just me. And I liked it that way. When I got home that afternoon, the light in my living room was soft angled through the curtains like it had been waiting for me. I set the pears on the counter, poured myself water, and opened the laptop. My inbox had 32 new messages. Not from banks, not from brands. From people, real people. Each one carried its own kind of ache. A quiet bravery typed out in midnight confessions or lunch break whispers. I played your podcast in my car and had to pull over. You said the thing I never could. My mother told me I was too sensitive. My husband told me I was imagining it. You made me feel seen. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes for a moment. I used to think I needed an apology. Some grand reckoning. Tears, begging. But none of that ever came. And now I didn't need it. What I needed was this. A chorus of women saying, "Me too." Not in shame. In recognition. I opened my recording software, put on my headset, and hit the red circle. Hi again. This is Christine Walsh. And this is episode 7 of They All Knew. Today's title, Gaslight is Not Love. My voice sounded calm, steady. Not polished, just mine. I spoke like I was talking to one person. One woman in a parked car. One girl hiding in the bathroom stall holding her phone with both hands. One woman standing in front of a mirror unsure if she still knew her own face. Love doesn't erase you. Love doesn't make you doubt your own mind. Manipulation isn't affection. Silence isn't peace if it costs you your voice. And forgiveness. Well, forgiveness without responsibility is just erasure in a prettier dress. I paused, letting the silence land. Then softly, sometimes the bravest thing you can say is, enough. Not loud, not angry. Just firm enough to hear yourself again. I ended the recording. The room felt still, and then my phone buzzed. Lana. I'm not okay, the message read. I stared at it. It had no punctuation. No greeting, no apology. Just 3 words like a hook cast into old water. For a second, I thought of the girl who used to braid my hair. Who cried over high school boys and stole my lipstick when I wasn't looking. But that girl. She had made a choice. And so would I. I tapped and held the message. Delete. No response. No drama. No explanations. No more emotional labor on someone else's behalf. I turned off the phone, pushed my chair back, and let the quiet be a gift, not a threat. The boutique still had the awning up. Faded now. The gold lettering that once read Leon and Rose had peeled in spots, the R hanging on like an afterthought. I hadn't come here since the night everything unraveled. Since the night the projector light carved truth across a table full of disbelief. I stood across the street for a moment, hands in the pockets of my denim jacket. No one else was there, no sign of Lana. Just the wind nudging loose leaves toward the gutter. The door was locked, of course. The closed until further notice sticker still crooked in the corner. I crossed the street. Walked up to the glass, peered in. Inside the shelves were bare, the counter was gone. Only a full-length mirror remained leaning against the back wall, tilted slightly like it couldn't stand straight on its own anymore. I stared at my reflection. Older. Quieter. Not broken. I'd thought this place was proof of success. Proof that Lana had finally found something of her own. But it wasn't hers. It never was. And the person who handed it to her, the man who once claimed to love me, had done so with money taken from the roof over our heads. I looked at myself one more time. Then whispered aloud, I survived. Not for anyone to hear. Just for me. Just enough to settle something in my chest that had floated untethered for too long. That night I went back. To the house I used to call home. Not because I wanted closure. Because I wanted to make sure I didn't need it anymore. The porch light was on. Darlene opened the door after one knock. Same expression, same robe. Same voice, soft and scolding. You really think you're better than all of us now? I didn't flinch. No, I said. I think I'm just not willing to lie about who you were anymore. She exhaled, tired, like she'd been waiting to win a battle I no longer showed up to. You embarrassed this family, she whispered. I shook my head slowly. No, Mom. I just pulled off the mask. That was all. No argument, no screaming match. Just a single truth placed gently at the door like a box she didn't want to open. I turned around. And this time I didn't look back. I took the long way home. The sun had dipped low, brushing gold over rooftops. Somewhere wind chimes rang faintly. At the corner, a little girl laughed as she skipped beside her mother, carefree, safe. For a moment, I just stood there, watching, not aching. I smiled. Because this time, someone else's joy didn't cost me mine. When I got home, I brewed tea. Saturday at my desk. Opened the mic. Hi. This is Christine Walsh. You've reached the final episode of They All Knew. A beat of quiet. I used to wait for an apology. Now I wait for nothing. My voice didn't shake. To anyone still doubting yourself, you're not too much. You're not broken. You're not alone. A pause. This was Christine Walsh. Thanks for listening. And if no one's told you yet you're not crazy, they just lied very well. Click. Upload. And this time the silence wasn't empty. It was mine.